Hey guys, this is SolidWorks Crew. Today is the day 1 of how to be a SolidWorks master for beginners. Today we have a full agenda prepared. The first thing is we're gonna go through some sketching tools such as drawing lines or drawing shapes and all the other features. I'm gonna go through more detail so we have some basic understanding of what kind of sketching tools we have. And secondly, we're gonna go through some drawing basic shapes such as the lines, circles, rectangles. We even have more different shapes we can create by using some of the sketching tools. And next, we're gonna use some smart dimension tools, and I'm gonna go through more detail what smart dimension tool is. And lastly, we're gonna go through some sketch constraints and relations. So all those first agendas gonna cover today's video, and then this is gonna be very basic but also very helpful for your future design process. So let's jump into it. Alright, so if you open up the SolidWorks window, you'll be able to see there's some buttons prepared. So the first one is the file. So if you click over here, and then there's a new and open, and then the historical data you can see. And if you go to the view, if you click it, and then there's a more viewable option, you can manipulate it, whichever you can toggle in or whichever you can activate it. If you go to the tools, there's a lot more external tools like such as the express product or just visualize or PDM, some other the tools you can activate by going through the tools. But for us, in order for us to start some sketching tools or some drawing basic shapes, we have to make sure just open up the new part. So there's 3 ways I can suggest you to start the part. So the first way is if you go to the file here and then just click it, and then there's a new part. So if you click here, and then you can see some template that you can select from. So the first way is you can just double click part, or you can just click part and then just click OK. That's just gonna be the first way. The second way is there's already a shortcut button created by default. So there's a new button. So you can just click new. That's just gonna be the exactly same process, and just click OK. The third way I personally like the most is just double click here, and then there's a part. So you can just click here, and then that's just gonna create a new part. But when there's no template assigned for the default from the file location for the template, then it's just gonna create an error message, or just like warning message basically. But you can just simply click OK. It's okay to not having any template, but you can just have to make sure just manipulate some kind of unit of measure. But for us, we personally like to do kind of inches or just pound inches than the metric. So we can just go with this way. And but if you like to just go with the millimeter, you can just feel free to just click millimeter. Or if you want to actually use some kind of customized unit, then you can just click edit document units, and then if you just wait for a minute, and then you'll be able to actually just manipulate those kind of from millimeter to the centimeter or just meter, or if you want feet, you can also just use feet to just change the kind of unit of measurement. But for us, we're just gonna do the IPS, which is just inches and pounds for weight. Okay. So the first part is sketching tools. So what's sketching tools? So there's a lot of meaning of sketching tools. Basically, you have to make sure having a look at those sketch tab. And there's a lot of actually tabs first. So if you go to the feature, this is just extruding and revolving, and all the other features are just grayed out. That is just because we have to make sure have some certain feature in order to activate those, or at least we have to have a sketch to or just at least we have to have some kind of feature, 3D feature that has been created, so we can actually just run extrude code or just all the other features. So just don't be panicked, even actually those are grayed out, there's always reason behind it. And if you go to the sketch, those are the things we're gonna go through today. So let's just start with sketch. So what's sketch? Sketch is just basically creating a 2D design, or it could be a 3D design. But if you just like click those kind of down arrow, and then there's two different types of sketch. So sketch is just basically for the 2D sketch, and 3D sketch is just basically for the 3D sketch. We're gonna go through more detail, but just what I really recommend all the beginner SolidWorks kind of users are, even though I try to teach all the details for all the features that we're not even going to use it for now, that is not going to be memorable. So what I all the time recommend is just I would like to emphasize the basic or just foundation first. So once we build up some good foundation, and then we'll be able to actually jumping into more other kind of the features such as a 3D sketch. Those are mainly used for development or just surfacing, but for now let's just focus more on the 2D sketch. So what's going to be happening if you click sketch, 2D sketch, is basically we have to just select one of the plane. We can draw the line, or we can draw some circle, rectangles, whichever the shape we would like to. You can just whichever the plane, but I personally like to just choose front plane, but it really depends actually what kind of actually design you want to create. So then it's going to be auto just rotated, but if you want to actually make the planes visible, the way you can do is you can just go to the left side. So here we call it feature tree. So the reason we call it feature tree is once I create another sketch, or just like another kind of features, it's just gonna be almost like a tree, and then kind of branch shapes having more kind of multiple layer. So I can actually show you how it looks like. So I'm already in a sketch mode. The reason I can notice this is the sketch mode is if you're having a look at it, so it is already clicked. So that's why it's just almost like a little bit more black and then kind of push state. And also it shows the exit sketch. So the reason actually it shows exit sketch is just because we are in the sketch mode. And then if you're having a look at on the right top side, there's a kind of exit sketch kind of shortcut already created, a little bit kind of transparent way, and also there's the exit way. So let's just like have a look at the other kind of sketching tools. So start with the left top side. This is the line, so there's some kind of animated view, and also there's some description. You can have a look at it, but it's just like pretty straightforward. Just like by clicking the line, and then start from this kind of origin, and then just create another line to line, just starting line to the end point. And then just once you press ESC, that's just gonna be the end, the next line kind of connection. So this is just basically the line. So if you want, you can just click one more time line here, and then just like starting from the end point of the first line, and then just create another line here, 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 here. So you can just create like so many different types of shapes. Okay, I'm just gonna delete it. But if you click the down arrow right beside the line, there is a center line. So what center line is, if you're just drawing it like this, and they, as you can see, those line has a bit of actually dash kind of lines. So the difference between the line versus center line is, okay, let me just try to create a kind of closed loop, kind of rectangle shape here. But as you can see, just within the the rectangular, there's some kind of boundary area, kind of like colored by almost like a little bit light black. What that means is just this is indicating it's closed loop. So you can create a feature based on those closed loop. Okay. However, I'm just trying to delete it and then just create a center line here, and I'm just gonna do this exactly same thing, just creating a closed loop. But as you can see, it's not showing any kind of like colored area. The reason behind it is this center line is just mostly, we can just think of it as a kind of reference point. So the way we can use this is just like, there's a lot of ways we can use this center line, but especially like you don't want to actually just like make it as a kind of like, you know, closed loop state, but more of a kind of reference point. So you can just create additional line, such as like you just create line here and then just create another center line here, and then just only for some kind of distance location, like I'm just gonna put 0.5 just for random value, and then just, you know, basically I'm just gonna create another circle or something like this. So like you can actually just use kind of this way, like kind of reference point, like, or up the distance. But yeah, I will just go through a little bit more details, but there's no answer for actually how to use center line. If this is the way you actually just like to do it, then that's the way. So, and the last line type is just midpoint line. So midpoint line sounds like it's pretty straightforward. So instead of actually just like, it's gonna be the starting point. So as you can see, once you click and then just drag it to the right, and then you can see actually on the other side of the starting line, there's already almost like exactly same lengths is just extended together. So yeah, there's a like total 3 ways, but yeah, I think this midline also used quite often. So just don't like just go this way, like basically just like draw a line and then just press ESC and then just go back and then just draw another line. And then if you think about actually, this is also pretty fast for like, you know, one line. However, if you imagine actually using just one midpoint line and then just draw it, how much time it could be faster if you imagine actually you have to do the same step for almost like 100 or thousands of lines, and then that's just going to be accumulating time saving, right? So I just want you to be more efficient, but firstly, let's just get used to like what kind of actually, you know, function it is. So I will just like go through step by step, you know, what kind of application, what kind of actually tools, sketching tool we can use kind of more efficiently. So yeah, let's just go through one by one. So the next one is circle. So as you can see, there's a down arrow. Whenever actually there's a down arrow right beside any feature, then there's more kind of options you can, you know, just try that out, or just like, you know, just be more efficient by using the other options. So, but the first one is just basic circle. So I'm just gonna just click here and then just draw a circle. And then as you can see, this is just like quite easy, kind of straightforward, just like kind of way of creating a circle. However, if you go to the down arrow, there is a one more option, which is the perimeter circle. So what perimeter circle is, let's just try it out. So just like click the center point. It used to be a center point for the first one. However, as you can see, this perimeter circle is, even though you click the origin first, that is gonna be basically the point of actual perimeter instead of actually the center point. And then once you click one more time, the second point, and then if you just move it back and forth, you can actually just adjust, you know, you can adjust the size of the kind of circle. So when is the best time actually you can use this perimeter circle is, especially once you have a kind of line like this. Okay, double click is, instead of actually clicking ESC or just pressing ESC, if you double click, that's just gonna be escape. Okay, so once you click here and then there's a, you know, second line you can just draw instantly. However, if you double click, that's just gonna be do the exactly same thing as the ESC, kind of shortcut way. If you're using the mouse often and then sometimes you don't want to actually just move your left hand or right hand just around to press the ESC, that's the way actually you can do. Okay, but for this perimeter circle, the way you can use is just, you can just click the one point and then the second point, and then you can just probably just make something like this, and then and then you can just make it almost like a tangent, and then, you know, you can just trim it, or just like, you know, you can just make it even actually just different shape, whichever you like. But that's just one way actually you can use this perimeter circle. Okay, so those circles are done. And the third thing is spline. And also if you go to the spline, there's a style spline and the equation driven curve. So I'm just gonna simply show you what the spline is. So at first, if you click and then just try to do spline, it seems almost like a line. However, once you click the second point, and if you move around, which is just kind of like making a curve. Like if you just click, there's almost like a worm, you know, kind of like curve shape is just kind of created for each just point. So like, okay, where can I even actually use this spline tool? This is the most commonly used sketch tool for surfacing. So what surfacing is, if you imagine the kind of car, like, you know, the shape of it is just very much like a curvy shape, right? So those kind of actually shape is required for us to just like using spline to have kind of more detail or just more curvy like design. Okay, so yeah, we can just like think of it like this is just more for the surfacing, but for our just like kind of, you know, basic understanding of some sketching tools, let's just like kind of jumping into the next sketching tool, just because actually this is not going to be very commonly used at the beginning, and once we get into the surfacing kind of tutorial video, and then we're going to just go through more detail. But there's some kind of different types of actually, you know, style spline we can use, and we can also use the equation to just like create a spline in a more accurate way. And the second thing is, which is the, you know, it's supposed to be the kind of rectangular shape as differ, but sometimes actually when you use different kind of rectangular shape, you'll be able to see that some other kind of rectangular shape is kind of preset. Okay, so let's just go to the rectangular first, corner rectangular, which is the most commonly used. So this is also the same. You have to make sure just select the first starting point and then select the end point. That is the way you can just do. And the center point is, once you click the center point here and then just extend it, and then you can just make some shape of the kind of rectangular. But the only difference is just like the corner rectangular is just starting from the corner and then just end up the other side of the rectangle. However, the center rectangular is just starting from the center point and then just extending. And yeah, so those two are just definitely most commonly used kind of feature. It really depends on what kind of industry you're going to be in or just you are in, but those two are definitely the go-to kind of sketch tool for the rectangular. So 3-point corner rectangle is just sometimes you can also use kind of draw the starting point and the second point and then the third point, and you can just create a, you know, rectangle this way. But sometimes you don't really want to just create kind of in a vertical or just horizontal way. Sometimes you want to just draw a diagonal kind of line and then extend it and then third point, so you can almost like create a like 45-degree just angle rectangle you want to create, right? And the third 3-point center rectangle is, this is also kind of like 3-point rectangle, corner rectangle. However, actually this is almost like a 3-point rectangle as center point version. So I'm just gonna draw, and then you'll be able to see it was kind of same until just creating a first line, and then extending was just like the first feature of the 3-point rectangle was just like corner to corner, but this one is just center. Starting from the center and then just extend it like in a both same way. Okay, and the last one is just like parallelogram, and then you can just draw a line here, creating another kind of parallel lines for both line, and then, you know, top and bottom, and then side to side, and then you're just gonna create like this kind of unique shape of it. So that's the way you can just use those kind of sketching tools. And then once we go into the next sketching tool, which is the arc and then center point arc, so it sounds pretty straightforward. So we have to select the center point first and then draw a like circle, and then you can just adjust the portion of the arc you want to create. That's just the way you can just create a center point arc. The second arc type is tangent arc. So tangent arc is, once you have a line here, I'm just going to create a line here, and then I'm just going to go to the tangent arc, and I'm just going to click this, the starting point, and then I'm just going to create the second point, and then as you can see, this arc is automatically just like, you know, tangent to this straight line. So I'm just gonna go through those relation later, but as you can see, this, you know, the kind of mark is indicating it has a tangent relation to this line. So this is what it indicates. So the tangent line has been done, and then the 3-point arc. So what's 3-point arc? So you can just create another, the first point, and then second point, and then you can just like go up and down to just like, you know, adjust the radius of this arc. That is the that is actually what it called the 3-point arc. So arc is pretty much good, and then the next feature is ellipse. Ellipse also has several kind of sketch tools, but I personally think that those 4 features I basically never used in my industry. I'm actually currently in HVAC kind of sheet metal industry, but I never seen it. And also, even when I talk to my colleagues, that they normally don't use ellipse unless actually you're in a kind of surfacing industry or just any other actually just like more irregular shape parts could be just possibly made. But especially when you're in an industry that use a razor, that could use ellipse, but we personally use more kind of slot shape for just pre-cut holes. So but just what's ellipse is just basically once you click the ellipse, just like it's almost like a circular shape, but once you click the second point, and then you can just move it around, and then it's going to be almost like an oval shape that you'll be able to see. That is the ellipse. And then what's the partial ellipse? Partial ellipse is just you basically create a circle first, but you only just create the certain portion of the ellipse like this, okay? And then the other, you know, parabola and conic is just almost like a creating like certain like kind of, you know, like parabola shape like this, and then you can just create only a portion if you want. And the conic is just basically opposite. You can just create like this. Sorry, actually, I'm gonna try one more time. So you can just like create a little bit more detail kind of shape of the conical shape just by adjusting like the third point and the first point. You can just like basically just adjust more detailed kind of shape of the like conical shape. Okay. And then now we get to the point of actually straight slot, and then different types of center point straight slot, and the 3-point arc slot, and the center point arc slot. If you're like paying attention, and then you'll be able to see we have 2 different types of sketching tool for most of the commonly used sketching tools. So as you can see, we have a straight slot starting from the starting point and the end point, but almost all kind of sketching tool we have kind of centered midpoint line. And also if you're having a look at the rectangle, we have corner to corner, but we also have a center rectangle. But even for this slot, we have a straight slot, which is just creating a line and then just extend it. That's just first way we can just create a kind of slot with straight slot. But we also have a center line, like a kind of style like this midpoint line. You can see that, right? And then once you click here, and you can just extend this. And the next feature is just 3-point arc slot. This is the combination of the arc with slot. So you're just gonna create a kind of the arc shape, and then you can adjust the radius, and then you can just extend it. This is a pretty cool feature, especially when you're working on some kind of specific shape of the slot you want to create for kind of curvy kind of part. So you can just actually use this kind of arc slot. And then center point arc slot is just pretty much similar, but the way actually you're creating arc is a little bit different. So you basically just starting from the center, creating a circle, and then only certain portion of the arc is going to extend it to create a slot. So this is actually efficient more for the kind of circular shape, and then you can just adjust the circle, and then you can only add, just limit certain portion of the kind of like arc, and then extend it to just create a certain size of the the slot. There is a total of 4 different types of slot, and then almost lastly for the shape wise, we have a polygon feature. So you can just start from the center point, and then you can just click the second point, and then that's the end. However, polygon feature has user. So polygon is possible for user to just manipulate the number of the lines. So if you're having a look at the left side, so there's a, by default is set as 6. However, if you change to 5, and then it's gonna just create only 5 lines for this shape. If you want 4, and then it's gonna be converting into kind of rectangular shape. However, if you want to increase to 10, that's just gonna create more complex, or just more kind of lines of polygons gonna be created. Okay, and there is just one of the most important thing that I would like to mention for this polygon is let's just come back to 6, and then there's the inscribed circle and the circumscribed circle. So this is very important, especially when you're communicating with manufacturing people. So inscribed circle is when there's a polygon and the circle is inside and tangent to the lines, and if you click the circumscribed circle, that's going to be go outside. So when you're communicating with any manufacturing people or just any other CAD designer, you should make sure say, oh, my polygon is inscribed and the radius is blah blah. However, actually, if someone else is understood your size of inscribed as circumscribed, and then that's gonna be show the different size, because I'm just gonna draw another line, another circle. So I'm just gonna create circle here, and then so as you can see, it has obviously 2 different sides of the circle, and then you guys are communicating differently. So that's why you have to make sure what's the size of the the circle which is inscribed or circumscribed. That should be definitely mentioned, otherwise you're gonna have miscommunication, and it ended up actually just being incorrect sizes for the whole, or it could be error. So all right, so there's a 3 more, but text I'll actually just go through it in the future videos. This text is just more for kind of putting some text in our kind of feature. So once we go through the feature, and then I'll be able to show you some kind of more kind of cool feature of the text. But basically, just creating a text is just text in the feature or in a surface. But sketch fillet, there is a sketch fillet and then there's a sketch chamfer. So what's sketch fillet and then what's sketch chamfer? So I'm just gonna create 2 lines, and then I'm just gonna do 1 more line, so I can do the fillet and just chamfer all together. So I'm just gonna click fillet first, and then I'm just gonna click those 2 lines, and it's pretty hard to see, but I'm just gonna increase to 2 inch, even bigger, 20 inch. So you can see those those corners gonna be kind of filleted. So those yellow line is just basically a preview of how it's gonna be kind of changed. So once you click and then you can see actually those kind of thin line created. This is just to show the what's the previous kind of line it used to be, and then this is basically the line that we are gonna have as a kind of feature. So as you can see, once we fillet it, this is automatically just create the radius 20 inches just for those fillet side. And then let's just go to the chamfer. What chamfer is? Chamfer is just basically click those two, and then it's going to be automatically just do it. However, Ctrl Z or Ctrl Z is the way you can just undo. I'm just gonna try just like sketch chamfer one more time, and then I'm just gonna type 20 inch, same thing for this case. Click here. This is pretty huge, but you can basically double click and then you can just adjust the number to adjust the the size of the fillet. But for now, I'm just gonna go to 10. This is not actually just okay. This is the okay. So I'm just gonna try one more time here. Sketch fillet. Just type 5 inches, and then just click those two lines. It seems a little bit better, actually, not too much exaggerated. So like that is the way you can just chamfer. However, I'm just gonna go to Ctrl Z, and then there's two different types of chamfer you can do for the sketch. So there's a distance to distance chamfer, there's an angle and distance chamfer, whichever you personally like. But you can actually just, if you know the data only for the distance to distance, then you can use it. But if you also know the angle, and then you can also apply the angle with certain distance, like 5 inches and then 45 degrees, something like this. And then once you apply, of course, it's not going to be able to just create a fillet for the 45 degrees. So you have to just make sure to do something kind of like different angle that should work fine for this. Yeah, something like 30 degrees. So it's gonna create another angle of 30 degrees, something like this. So that's the way actually you can just basically just create in various ways of actually fillet. Okay, all right, those are good. And then the last sketching tool I'll say is just like point. But this is, you can think of it like there is a center line for reference, but there is a point for the reference. Okay, there's a lot of actual points you can just create, and then you can just like reference those points for just certain point, something like this. Okay, those are pretty good. And then we touched some the drawing basic shapes like lines, circles, rectangles, and now we have to make sure how to use the smart dimension. What's a smart dimension? So as you can see, there's a smart dimension tool, and then if you just click the down below, there's so many different types of smart dimension you can just select from. But I want you to just like just go through like one by one how it works. But I really recommend you just using smart dimension most of the time, because that actually contains almost all feature of like those things, other than the chain dimensions or just like some like path length dimensions. But most of the case, by using smart dimension, that's just gonna just do every work for us. Okay, so what smart dimension is, so for our case, I'm just gonna create a rectangular shape, center rectangle. So I'm just gonna select the center point, and I'm just gonna create this kind of shape of it. So this is very important. Just keep that in mind, and then don't forget about these things. This is tip number 1. The blue line indicates underdefined. So what underdefined is, opposite of not fully defined. So what's fully defined and underdefined in SolidWorks? So I'm just gonna exit this, and then can you see those feature tree? There's a kind of sketch feature that has been created, and then you can see those kind of minus mark within the bracket that has been created right beside the sketch one. That is indicating underdefined. So I'm just gonna go to edit sketch. So once you click the the sketch feature, and then there is a kind of like toggle button created, and then you can just click edit sketch, or you can just click this one, and then you can go to the sketch. And then that's also a second way you can just like edit sketch. So you can see, as you can see, so those are all blue lines. So in order for us to fully define So basically we are just trying to just rock this position and then put some proper dimension for each line, so it's not movable basically. Because if you click line or if you click the point, whichever, and then just by clicking and then just dragging it, it's just going to be easily changeable, which is what we really want to see, because we want to actually define the certain lengths of each line and a certain point, so it makes sure actually this design is rigid. That's what we really want to do with Smart Dimension. Okay, so I'm just gonna click Smart Dimension, and then there's several ways you can just create a dimension. The first way is just create it, select a line, and then once you just move it and then just click it, and then it's just gonna create this kind of value. So as you can see, those numbers are not very clean and not very nominal values, so it's gonna be really difficult to just make the size as same as 0.94056. That's been probably just kind of skipped, so that's why I actually only have a certain number of the decimal points. But we want to make it kind of cleaner number, such as a 20. How much better it is. So as you can see, actually those two lines converted to black. But what our object is, we also want to actually convert our top and bottom line to be kind of black. So everything is just basically fully defined, because it's still under defined, because I'm just trying to exit the sketch, and then you can see those kind of minus mark is still there. We want to actually just get rid of those minus mark. I'm just gonna go click here, edit sketch, and I'm just gonna go to Smart Dimension, and I'm just gonna click this one or this one. As you already notice, the first way I just click this line, but the second way I just apply top and bottom, and then that's just also doing the exactly same thing. But if you think about the efficiency wise, definitely just clicking the right line is much faster, right? Because you don't have to just click top one and then moving all the way bottom and then just drag it. But if you do the first step, which is just click the right line, that's it, right? So always think of actually which one is going to be faster, which one is going to be more efficient. Then that's always the best practice as a future engineer or future mechanical designer, right? So as you can see, there is no such kind of blue feature or sketch feature you'll be able to see. So I'm just gonna exit sketch, and then as you can see, minus gone. That is what we really want to see. Okay, that is perfect. All right, let's just edit sketch, and then I'm just gonna delete those things, and then the last part I'm gonna touch is sketch constraints and relations. What's sketch relations? So if I draw a line here, and then once you click this line, and then last time I mentioned that we have some kind of the green stuffs, kind of green box, kind of small box shape actually that has been just already created automatically. So what this the straight line within the green box is actually indicating is basically it showing this is horizontal relation. So this could be only just extended horizontal way. That is just because if you click here and then there is a horizontal relation assigned to this line. However, if you want to delete the horizontal relation, there's a second way. The first way is just you basically delete this line and then just draw another line, not to be horizontal, just something like this. But the second way you can do is, if there's already a horizontal line, can you see on the right bottom from my kind of cursor, there is a kind of yellow straight one instead of actually green. What that means is, okay, once you just click this endpoint here, this is going to be automatically assign the horizontal relation to this line. Okay, so I'm just going to click the endpoint and then press ESC, and then that's why you can see those kind of this straight kind of horizontal relation. But in order for you to just move up and down, so it doesn't it doesn't necessarily actually just horizontal relation, it's just by clicking this relation. So now you can see actually those green box turning into almost like a sky blue or something like this. Just press delete, And now I'm just gonna click this point, move it. See, now you can see actually just this relation has been deleted. So okay, we now know how to delete the relation, but how can you assign the relation for this line? So it's exactly the same way. You just click this line, and then there's a toggle kind of open up. There is a make horizontal and make vertical, and then there's a make fixed, but you can focus more on the make horizontal and the make vertical. Make fixed is basically just like it's just making fixed, so it's not gonna be change anything. Like I would try make fixed. So as you can see, actually like it's just fixed state. Like you can see those kind of fixed state, but we personally don't use fixed a lot. We rather just apply the relation. So I'm just gonna click here, and then what it used to be was just horizontal, right? So I'm just gonna click make horizontal. Okay, that's just first way. You can just create a horizontal relation. Okay, but the second way you can do is just click here, and then as you can see, the line property is gonna be showing up, and then there's a series relation you can apply to this. So you can just apply horizontal. That's just like second way you can just create a relation too. But if you paying attention, everything is not black yet. That is just because even though we apply the relation to this line, we have to make sure just put the dimension for this line, because you can see those dots are already blue. What that means is even though actually this is just like have a good relation as a horizontal, but it could be just moving around. We want to make it everything just kind of stationary, so like it's not moving at all, right? So what we're gonna do is basically put the dimension. So smart dimension, click here. The easiest way is just clicking this line, or if you're a little bit just exploring the other way, you can just click this point, the second point. You can basically not only selecting the line to line, but you can also select the point to point. Okay, but for our efficiency, so I'm just gonna click this line, and then I'm just gonna apply 10-inch, kind of clicking the number. So that's the way actually you can just fully define. So once you exit the sketch, and then you'll be able to see no minus mark beside the sketch. Okay, just keep that in mind. There should be no minus mark for the sketch or no minus mark for the feature. Always make sure fully define anything. Okay, this is the most important thing. If you just all the time have some minus mark or just like underdefined, this is not a good practice. Always remember that. Okay, all right, that's the end of the video. So we basically recapping, like we touched some kind of sketching tools, and we know how to use a sketch kind of function, and where to select from the plane, and then how to show or just hide those kind of planes. And then we know how to use the smart dimension, and then we even know how to use the the relations, sketch relations, so we can apply the relations, and also combining with the smart dimension with the relation, we can fully define the sketches. All right, sounds good. So next video, day 2, we're gonna just go through more of some the features, such as just extruding features, and reverbing features, and the sweep and the loft and boundary. Those are going to be definitely more fun, and then a lot more like in a versatile shape we can just create from the sketch that we create. So we're going to do a lot of exercise together, and then these sketch tools before we going to the next video, I just want you to practice, because always practice makes everyone perfect, and also just like makes their skills much better by doing it. Just don't only looking at the video and then just go to the next video. Make sure just like just draw a line here, just like go to the feature sketch here, just like draw a line, and then just create a circle, and then just create a center rectangle. Just do it, and then just try to just like explore what kind of actually just like sketching tool you have, and then get used to it. That is always the best way you can just run this SolidWorks as fast as possible. Okay? Thanks for watching this video, and if this video was helpful, please just give thumbs up and subscribe this video. If this video was helpful, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe for me. Alright, I will see you next video, guys. Bye.